There are 5 huge gaping holes in the prosecution, and no one else is pointing them out. Let's get into it. We literally have the tapes. We have the actual footage of these freak-offs. And guess what? Every single tape shows the girls looking like they're enjoying themselves. That's Diddy's main defense here. He's like, look at the tapes. And at the time, nobody seemed upset or uncomfortable. Now they're saying they hated it. But back then, Cassie looks like she's having a great time on camera. And the prosecution doesn't even try to argue against this because the footage speaks loud and clear. Cassie Ventura is the main pillar of the defense. She's the base of the House of Cards. And that may prove to be a critical mistake because the central point of Cassie's testimony was that she hated the freak-offs. She hated every second of them while performing for Diddy. But what does the hard evidence show? It shows a mix. It shows there's videotapes showing she loves it. There's text showing she hates it. But the eyewitness testimony from the freak-offs is that she loved it. That brings us to the main point. If Cassie truly hated every second of the freak-offs, then why was she so cool with all of the escorts involved? If these freak-offs were as terrible as she says they were, she'd see these escorts more like rapists, but we know she didn't. The escorts themselves testified that Cassie looked like she was having fun. The Punisher even said that Cassie loved the head he was giving her. Apparently, she was even scooting that toot forward for more, and he never thought she wasn't enjoying it. Now, Daniel Phillips, another escort, believed that he and Cassie had a genuine friendship. Now, how could they have a genuine friendship unless they were both bonding over a good shared activity? All right, like they were bonding through the sex, as people do. That adds credence to the fact that she was enjoying the sex acts themselves. Now we move on to Mia. Mia is the second pillar in the prosecution's case. I'm going to show you all of the holes in Mia's testimony. She claims that Diddy physically abused and raped her repeatedly over the years, but there's literally zero hard evidence. There's no texts, there's no photos, nothing. Does that not sound unlikely to you? Does it not sound unlikely that you are getting the shit kicked out of you every day and you don't ever take a picture of that? You don't ever take a picture of your wounds, your bruises, your cuts, your scrapes? You don't ever go to the hospital to get patched up? There's not a single hospital record? That's just unlikely. And it's not my opinion that there's no hard evidence. Mia herself agrees that there's no hard evidence. Mia herself agrees that there are no texts that back up what she's saying. Now, the hard evidence that we do have are positive. The text messages that we do see are things like her saying happy birthday, her saying things like I love you. Years after leaving his employment, 3 years later, 3 years removed from this whole entire life, she's still texting him, and I quote, I love you and I'm here for you forever. Who does that if they're genuinely traumatized by this guy? You've escaped his clutches. Why are you still texting him such nonsense? To me, that sounds a little suspicious. And who could forget 50 Cent's baby mama? Now, let's take a look at Jane Doe, also known as 50 Cent's baby mama, allegedly. She says that Diddy used financial coercion, blackmail, and psychological pressure to force her into these freak-offs. But again, you have to look to the hard evidence when you're evaluating these claims. Unlike the others, unlike Mia, unlike Cassie, she had a purely romantic relationship with Diddy. She knew what she was getting into. She wasn't trapped or had her career in jeopardy. She knowingly got into a romantic relationship with Diddy from the start of their talking. All right, what she is trying to say. Now, the stipulations were clear. In these love contracts, she was to be paid $10,000 a month. And according to her, the financial coercion comes in because Diddy said that he would stop the $10,000 a month payments if she refused to have the freak-offs. Now, respectfully, that's just being a sugar baby, okay? That's a job. And part of your job is participating in the freak-offs, all right? Listen, trading work for money isn't force. That's just employment. That's just how jobs work. If I don't listen to my boss, I'm gonna get fired and I'm not gonna be able to pay my rent. But that doesn't mean that I'm a slave to my boss. That doesn't mean that like I'm being forced into this. That's just the reality of everyone's situation. That's not even the worst of it because it's not like this wasn't her only source of income. She's also getting child support from 50 Cent, $5,000 a month in fact. So financially, she wasn't desperate. Nobody was forcing her into this situation. She wanted to be there. Now, she also claims physical abuse, yet there's no proof. Just like Mia, there's no pictures, there's no hospital visits, nothing is documented. If someone's repeatedly hitting you, wouldn't you at least go to the hospital once? But there's nothing. wouldn't you at least complain to your friend once? But there's nothing. And regarding blackmail, she herself admitted that Diddy gave her the choice to leave. He gave her the choice to stop having the freak-offs. He said clearly, by her own admission, that she could go and stop having the freak-offs, but she stayed. When Diddy offered to stop the freak-offs, she said no and then had a freak-off with Diddy the same night. By definition, you aren't trapped if the man is willing to let you leave and then you voluntarily do the freak-off. And it's not like he was gonna cut her off cold turkey. He was willing to give this woman 3 months severance. Do you think the prostitutes on the corner are getting 3 months severance if they don't want to work today? No, all right? They're going hungry. That's what's happening, okay? They know they gotta get on that corner if they want any money. That's just the reality. Meanwhile, this girl is getting 3 months severance. 3 months severance. She is getting paid $10,000 a month to do nothing for 3 months whenever she wants to quit. And you're supposed to tell me that's blackmail? You're trying to tell me that's blackmail? You're trying to tell me she was forced into this situation? That doesn't sound like forced to me. And finally, we come to Capricorn Clark. This is the last pillar of the prosecution, and we are going to knock it down quickly and swiftly. She claims that Diddy kidnapped her at gunpoint and threatened her life on multiple occasions. Those are major accusations. But here's the thing. She got fired in 2012 for wrongfully going on vacation. Then she sued Diddy for wrongful termination and got paid an undisclosed amount. She didn't seem worried at all about retaliation then. If you fear for your life, truly and genuinely, why are you suing this man? Shouldn't you be scared that he might kill you rather than pay you a settlement? Why is he paying you a settlement to go away and not just getting rid of you? You couldn't have been that scared. You couldn't have been that scared if you sued him. Even more suspicious, she became Cassie's creative director in 2016, meaning she was basically working for Diddy again, because by her admission, Diddy micromanaged every part of Cassie's life. And if he's micromanaging every part of Cassie's life, that means that you're in regular contact with him. So if Diddy was so dangerous, why would Capricorn Clark go back? And believe it or not, here's the craziest part. In 2018, Capricorn Clark quit her job because Cassie Ventura was apparently just blasted off drugs all the time and it just made it unproductive. But after leaving again in 2018, believe it or not, she asked to return in 2024 as his chief of staff after Diddy got raided by police. If you really feared for your life, if you really believed that Diddy might kill you if you cross him, why jump back into the situation twice? Why jump back into the lion's den twice? Those don't sound like the actions of a scared woman to me. Each of these testimonies is full of holes and lacks evidence. And to me, I think there's enough for reasonable doubt. Now look, I wouldn't want my daughter to be anywhere near a guy like Diddy, but we have to remember that this is court, okay? This is court. And not guilty doesn't mean innocent, okay? It just means that you guys didn't do a good enough job proving your case. You know, like the government didn't do a good enough job. So I'm not excusing Diddy's actions. I'm just giving an emphatic defense for why I feel like you can argue that there's just not enough here for conviction for the sex trafficking charge. If you'd like to see more of my Diddy coverage, check out my week 1 summary.